And joining us now, Minnesota's Attorney General Keith Ellison. Mr. Attorney General, over the last 5 days, we've seen rioters in Minneapolis burn down a police station, force the National Guard to retreat, and loot neighborhoods. On Saturday, here's what Attorney General Barr had to say.
Groups of outside radicals and agitators are exploiting the situation to pursue their own separate and violent agenda.
Do you have evidence that people from outside Minnesota, whether it's far left extremists or white supremacists, that outsiders are hijacking these riots in Minneapolis?
We have evidence that outsiders have been present and in some cases have played a very negative role. But I've been talking with protesters and trying to get a sense of who some of these folks are. And I've heard a mixed thing. Some of the negative stuff has come from people in Minnesota, and some of it has come from people on the outside. What I'd say is we got enough to handle on our own, and that what we really need to do is refocus on justice for Mr. Floyd. And negative behavior, looting, arson does not help us achieve that goal.
On Friday, you urged the people of Minneapolis not to react to the National Guard in the streets the way they would to local police. I want to put up something you said. Please remember that this is not the group that you associate with unfair authority. Question, do blacks in Minneapolis have reason to distrust or even to fear their local police?
Sadly, yes. There is a history that has been repeated time and time again. I want to say that many officers are great people. I know so many of them. And I think the chief is an extraordinary person. And the mayor and the council deserve a lot of credit for appointing Mr. Arredondo. But it is an endemic problem in the Minneapolis Police Department. One problem is our Police Federation president operates as sort of an alternative chief who I think undermines good order in the department. So we have our challenges in front of us. And I think that we can reform, we will reform, and there's a lot of great officers who want to reform, and it's good to have a chief that wants to reform.
While you have been consistent in condemning the violence, on Friday you quoted Martin Luther King saying, "Riot is the way the unheard get heard." Are you suggesting that something good may come from the violence in the streets in Minneapolis this week?
No, the violence really is a negative thing. But I think what Martin Luther King was trying to say is rather than simply dismiss the outrage and the rage that people express after decades, really, actually centuries of state-sponsored oppression for African Americans, let's look at the roots of that rage and try to address it rather than just pound it down with massive force. I mean, people are upset for a reason. And to dismiss those reasons means we're going to be relegated to dealing with them again and again and again. I mean, it was John F. Kennedy who said, where peaceful change is made impossible, violent change is inevitable. And these are not statements about what they believe should happen. They're statements about what does happen. And so I think that's really what the spirit of the comment was.
I want to drill down on this specific case. The fired police officer, Derek Chauvin, was charged with third-degree murder, not second-degree murder, which has a much stiffer penalty, second degree does. And the big difference has to do with what he intended to do, whether he intended to kill George Floyd. I have to say, we're putting up the video now, and it's hard to see anything other than anything questionable about his intent when he kept his knee on his neck for 9 minutes, including 3 minutes when he was no longer responsive. But I guess two questions. First of all, are you comfortable with the charge of third-degree murder, which means he didn't intend to kill him? And secondly, how do you respond to the Floyd family, members of which are saying that they would like to see you take over the prosecution of this case as a special prosecutor?
Well, let me say that we are very early in this process, very early. It is not uncommon to amend charges. It is not uncommon to add defendants. The fact is the investigation is still going on, and it's actually in the middle of the investigation, or maybe even the beginning of the middle. And so I don't want anyone to conclude that these are all the charges that are going to be there. You know, to ask people to be patient who have suffered so long and been denied justice so long is really asking a lot of them. But if you want to make sure that this case results in a successful prosecution, you got to understand the defense attorneys who are going to be on the other side are very skillful, and they will try to break every single link in the prosecutorial chain. So I ask people, no, don't rush this thing. Let's get this thing right. Remember, the Walter Scott jury hung. The Rodney King jury came back acquitting the defendants. These cases, which look so obvious to us watching videotape, you get them in a trial with some really good lawyers, and things can go in a very different direction. So let's get this thing right. As it relates to my role, I am standing behind the process at this point, and the process is that the county attorney has primary jurisdiction. I will say that I'm always there to assist the cause of justice in any way that I can, but I am backing up Minnesota state law, which means that the primary authority at this point is the county.
Finally, and I got a little over a minute left here, so I need a quick answer from you. As Attorney General, you're part of the power structure in Minnesota, and you have talked in the last few days about a deep dive reform. We're going to fix a broken society. But the fact is, those were exactly the same things that were being said 4 years ago after a police officer shot and killed Philando Castile at a traffic stop. And in fact, Castile, the officer who shot him, was acquitted. So why, I guess, frankly, why should people in the community believe you any more than the people who were making those same assurances 4 years ago?
Fair question. I will tell you that we did have a year-long task force on preventing deadly force encounters with police. We issued a report in February. We had law enforcement, community, civil rights. We had people all over the state of Minnesota. This is a real serious, deeply rooted problem, Chris, and I'm committed in the long term. I believe the Commissioner of Public Safety, John Harrington, is, and the governor is. But I'll tell you, you know who called for real change? Martin Luther King called for it. He was talking about police brutality back in the 60s. This problem is not a simple problem, nor is it a localized problem. We all have to embrace change and move forward, and maybe this can help us do it.
Attorney General Ellison, thank you. Thanks for your time, sir, and it's good to speak with you.
Thank you, sir.